So today our visiting expert presentation is with Jena Wilmers. Jena is the commander of the 5th District American Legion, and she is an absolute wealth of knowledge about veteran benefits in the area. And today she is going to share with us the 5 benefits of connecting with the VSO. So welcome, Jena.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. I just want to give you a short little bio here. So my name is Jena Wilmers. I'm currently the 5th District American Legion commander. So I oversee 26 posts within Kent and Ottawa counties. This picture on the left is a couple years ago. I served in the Michigan Army National Guard. I traded in my cheerleading shoes for combat boots in 2006. We were an aviation unit that I was a weapons and supply specialist for. So I got to do a lot of cool things, such as flying helicopters like this. That's on the left. On the right is my beautiful family. It's my husband, Nick, and my son, Landon. And they have really been just there for me through my military service and everything, and I just couldn't do it without them. So I today wanted to talk to you guys about the 5 benefits of connecting with the VSO. I kind of want to preface this that I will be speaking from an American Legion side a little bit more because that's my wheelhouse, that's my expertise. I'm not dissing the VFW. The VFW is an amazing organization, and they also have a lot of what I would call sister projects, meaning that they do the same thing, they just do it in their organization. So we do have a lot of similarities. So one of the things that I would like to do is talk about the difference between the American Legion and the VFW. I also want to explain that why VSOs, we're not just beer and pretzels, we're not just an old dingy bar. So I want to talk to you about the stigmas that come along with that. We'll also like to educate you about some of the VSO programs that we have to offer for not only veterans, but also for your spouses and your children and things like that. And then provide you with some resources, how you can access them, how veterans, dependents, and spouses can access those resources. And then lastly, I would like to cover the community impact that being part of a VSO or at least connecting with them makes. So first, I keep saying the word VSO. Well, it's actually an abbreviation, and in the military, we have acronyms, as you all know. So VSO is a veteran service organization. If you've honorably served in the military, you are classified as a veteran. And even though we took off the uniform, it doesn't mean that we decide that we're not going to serve anymore. Most of us, because we chose to put on the uniform, that service is kind of ingrained and built in us. And so it doesn't just go away when we're not. So a lot of veterans then decide to join VSOs, which is veteran service organizations, where they can continue to give back and do the serving that they love to do. Some of the resources provide assistance to service members. We also provide benefit claim services. We also help with career guidance, transitional assistance, and much more. There's hundreds of VSOs that are ready to help veterans in a variety of circumstances, but these organizations will have familiar names to you, but the services offered may vary depending, as I was explaining earlier, like the VFW and the American Legion. So what's the difference between the American Legion and the VFW? Well, they were both formed at different times. So at the end of the war in Paris, of the World War, a group of gentlemen got together and said, you know, what are we going to do to support the veterans who are going back home? And so that's how the American Legion was actually formed in 1919. And then the VFW started as an organization in 1899. And it was actually 2 veterans organizations. It was the American Veterans of Foreign Service and the National Society of American of the Philippines, which they merged to form the VFW in 1914. And then both of these organizations were then chartered by Congress on the dates that you see on your screen. And you may be wondering, what does that mean? And why is it a big deal to be chartered by Congress? Well, it means that these organizations, if we might want to make a change to our organization, or if we want to modify our bylaws or anything that we do, which is our procedural documents of how we operate, then the change has to go through Congress and it has to be signed by the President of the United States. So for any of these organizations to make adjustments, it really is an act of Congress, as they say. The biggest difference between these two organizations are the membership requirements and the programs. In order to qualify for membership in the VFW, the veteran must serve honorably in a war campaign, expedition on foreign soil, or in hostile wars. To join the American Legion, an individual must have served at least 1 day of federal active duty during a qualifying period. Currently, the eligibility of that runs from December 7th, 1941 through the present. That actually was just changed in 2020. President Trump signed what we called the American Legion Act, which we had 5 date groups of when you could join the American Legion, and we were able to get that changed by Congress to allow that to be a broader spectrum. So why are VSOs not just beer and pretzels? Well, we've talked about how, it's the stigma that people think that just because an American Legion or a VFW hall, we have a bar and it's dark and you go in and, they just want to share war stories. Well, they do a lot more than that. It's just that they need to learn, and their leadership is working on that, on how to get that message out there. That one of the bigger things that they do is, because they're chartered by Congress, they're able to lobby on Capitol Hill. So to give you some examples, the American Legion on August 9th, 1921, the Legion efforts resulted in the creation of the U.S. Veterans Bureau, forerunner of the Veterans Administration. So today, the Legion continues to lobby for adequate funding to cover medical, disability, education, and other benefits for veterans within the VA. On June 15, 1923, the first flag code was drafted during the Legion Conference in Washington. Congress adopted the code in 1942, and today the American Legion is a forefront of the efforts past a constitutional amendment to protect the U.S. flag from physical desecration. In June 1944, the Service Members Readjustment Act, better known as the GI Bill. So the American Legion lobbied on Capitol Hill, and since then, millions of veterans have received a free or discounted higher educational benefits due to the GI Bill. In July of 1983, the American Legion announced its sponsorship of an independent study on the effects of exposure to Agent Orange in the Vietnam War. And since then, Congress has approached Columbia University to study this. And now that those veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam are getting healthcare benefits through the VA. In 2019, the American Legion has a temporary financial assistance program where we gave away $1.3 million to veterans and their families that was distributed to the U.S. Coast Guard during the 35-day federal government shutdown. So those are the types of things that the American Legion and the VFW do, but those organizations don't do a good job of that. And as a leader in those organizations, in the organization that I'm with, I'm really trying to get those posts to look at how they're sending the message out to other people. So the biggest benefit of a post and connecting with the VSO is a veteran service officer. A veteran service officer can help you do all of these things. So we can help with a file review for your VA claims. We recommend that you have your VA claim reviewed every 3 to 5 years because, as an example, going back to the Agent Orange, when those soldiers came back from Vietnam, Agent Orange was not listed under the ailments or covered by the VA should you have an ailment from that. And so they had to seek outside care instead of going to the VA. When the VA finally approved it, those soldiers were then able to go back to the VA, say, hey, we would like this to be covered now, and it increased their disability rating as well. Securing benefits. So a lot of veterans that I meet don't receive any VA benefits at all. Even though you might not be sick, you still might have benefits that are available to you, not only to you, but also to your spouse. A veteran service officer can also help you predetermine if you are eligible to be buried in a national cemetery. Spousal benefits so there are a lot of different spousal benefits that veterans don't know. One of the biggest ones that I was surprised that most veterans don't know about is if you become sick later on in life and your spouse is taking care of you, you can get financial assistance for him or her to be a caretaker for you so that you do not have to go into a nursing home and things like that if that's what your family decides to do. A veteran service officer can also help with the homeless veterans assistance. So there are programs out there that help veterans who are either homeless or on the verge of being homeless, or say you just need temporary financial assistance. Through all of the veteran service officers, we can guide you to those resources. The last thing is the honor guard and burial flag. So an American Legion post and a VFW can help you with getting connected to the honor guard. So Kent County has a Kent County Veterans Honor Guard, which render military honors at funerals. And then we work with the funeral home and whatnot to help you obtain your burial flag. A lot of spouses don't know that information because, if you haven't served, you don't necessarily know where to go. So we really try to help the surviving spouse, kind of walk through those motions a little bit during that time of need. So the second benefit to connecting with the VSO is veteran services. So we offer employment assistance. So we're very well connected. We have many people that reach out to us and ask us, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for a job? We'd really like to hire veterans because their skill sets transfer very well into the civilian workforce. The employers have really made an effort to work with veterans and working with, VA appointments and things like that as well. Transition assistance. So if you have a veteran that has gone on deployment and is coming home, transitioning to find that job or get signed up for education can sometimes be difficult. So we have resources to help make that transition a little easier so it's not so tedious and stressful. Educational assistance. So we have the GI Bill that helps you get a monthly stipend under the GI Bill, as well as your tuition is paid for as well, so that veterans can, earn their education. Emergency assistance and help. So the emergency assistance is, say you fall on hard times, or like even through COVID, we helped many people pay, electric bills or things like that when, unemployment hadn't taken effect yet. Kind of going back to where we spent the $1.3 million for helping the Coast Guard families during the 35-day government shutdown. And then also the help for potentially homeless. So, we have helped pay rent payments We also have helped veterans with securing housing if they are homeless. There's a great resource that we use downtown called Community Rebuilders. They have places that, you know, we can house veterans for short periods of time before we can move them into permanent housing. And then a really great one here that just actually started this last year due to COVID is appointment transportation. So through Kent County Veteran Services, and in some communities, it's also available as well. We can help get you to a VA appointment. So we actually have some veterans who are housebound and not able to get to their appointments. And so providing transportation is something that actually has just kind of started in the last few years. Okay, so programs that the VSOs have to offer. So each year, the American Legion recognizes a law enforcement officer of the year, firefighter of the year, and the teacher of the year. These are specifically tailored to telling the community that, you know, we see what you're doing and we appreciate you with other service organizations around the community. But where it comes in for you is at the bottom. These are scholarship programs that are available to high school juniors and seniors, as well as family members. So I'll kind of explain them a little bit. So the oratorical contest is actually a constitutional speech contest. The contestants are given 4 of the constitutional amendments, and they have to prepare 3 to 5 minute speeches. When they get to the contest, their number is drawn of which one they're going to be talking about, and then they have to give their presentation and debate on it. And they can win up to $18,000 in scholarship by participating in this contest. Boys and Girls State actually happens right in our backyard, which is really cool. Boys State is held at Grand Valley, and it's for high school juniors, and they actually learn how to build a government from the ground up, all the way from a constituent to the governor of Michigan. And then throughout this process of learning how to run a government where they actually campaign for their positions, they also take a trip to the Capitol building to have a visit with some senators and kind of get an all-around experience. And it's just a really amazing program just to see the transition in the boys from when they come in until when they leave. Our student trooper program basically is, in my opinion, kind of like a little mini boot camp. So if you know any high school students that are interested in going into law enforcement, this is an opportunity for these students to kind of get a taste of that, where they will go to the Michigan State Police Academy in Lansing for a week, and they will be state troopers for a week, and they will go through all the training that a trooper would go through. So they shoot weapons, they do the car driving course that you may see if you've ever driven by there. And, you know, they wake them up early in the morning and do physical training, also known as PT. So it's a really extensive program, but everyone that I know that has done it says it's an amazing experience. And then the last thing is the Legacy Scholarship. So the Legacy Scholarship is available to family members of veterans who maybe passed away or who were killed in action. Then this allows their children to be able to go to college, basically. With the Legacy Scholarship, the funds raised for that are actually raised by the American Legion Riders, which is our equivalent of like a motorcycle group. We're not like the Hells Angels or anything like that. But the American Legion Riders was basically put together so it could be a philanthropic organization, and their main focus actually is this legacy scholarship. They do what they call legacy run, where they, in the state of Michigan, they meet up at rally points and take a tour of the state and end up usually at the state convention every year. So it's pretty nifty to kind of see them all come in when you've got, 500 motorcycles coming in at one point, just to bring the checks, because they go around and collect the checks throughout the state and then bring them in. So it's a pretty nifty thing. So the fourth benefit is community impact. So the American Legion and the VFW allow you to be able to serve your local community. One of the things that the American Legion focuses on is the flag and flag etiquette. This is why I wrote the flag retirement and education. So American Legion posts are going out and raising the flags at new businesses. We're also teaching students how to retire the flag properly, also how to display the flag properly. So not only are we serving the community, but we also are educating the community. So it's our VSO's job to make sure that we bridge the gap between the civilian citizen and the veteran citizens, so that they can understand each other and so that they can learn. Because if you came on earlier, you heard Chris and I talking about how veterans, when you get us in a group, we just immediately bond because we all share a common thing where we all volunteered for a volunteer force and served our country. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's hard for those who didn't do that or weren't able to do that to understand, the differences. Another thing is buddy checks. So COVID really opened our eyes to how much veterans really need us. The number of 22 a day, which is basically 22 veterans a day commit suicide due to, their ailments and whatnot. And due to COVID, that number jumped to about 29 to 30 a day. So the American Legion started a program called Buddy Checks, where the top leadership of American Legion is calling all of their membership to check on them, make sure that they don't need anything, and to kind of keep them at a forefront that they have somebody there, that they have somebody that's willing to talk to them and go through the mud with them. Food delivery assistant. So we've had some members who have had surgeries or lost loved ones, and so we've gone and helped them with meals. Last year when COVID hit as well, in the Walker community where I live, 50% of the children are on free or reduced lunch. And so the school was very concerned about how to get those meals to the students, knowing that if they were at home, they might not eat. So they decided to load all the lunches on the bus, and they asked for a bunch of volunteers. And we literally rode buses for 12 weeks. For 5 to 7 hours a day, where we ran the bus routes and dropped off those meals to those kids so that they could continue to eat, even though they weren't able to go to school due to COVID. So the last benefit of connecting with the VSO is the social impact. So if you need a place to connect with somebody, like I said, we continue to serve even though we don't have the uniform. I really encourage you to get involved in a VSO and, continue to serve that way. Another way too is our chaplain. So our chaplain is an equivalent of a pastor. So if you just need somebody to talk to, if you just need somebody to pray for you or to help you, that's what a chaplain does within a VSO. And, it can really help you in times of need. The social impact of connecting with others with common ground. We all know that when we get around people that have common ground, we feel a little more comfortable, and we can be a little more vulnerable. And it really just extends your family, because when you join a VSO, you kind of, have another family as well. the family assistance portion of that. So, you know, if you currently serve, say you have to go overseas or out of town, you know, your spouse or significant other can give us, say the hot water heater goes out and they need it repaired. There are people in the VSO that, you know, do those things. And so we could help, you know, go and put the new hot water heater in. Whatever type of family assistance that they may need, you know, a VSO can typically help with that. Or if they can't help with it, then they have resources. And then mental wellness. You know, we all know that PTSD is a very big issue. It's been something that's, you know, kind of, it was taboo for a while and now it's not. But when you get around like-minded people who understand your struggles and know what you're going through, it just makes it easier and it just kind of adds to your quality of life. And so your mental well-being can be in a better place. So at this time, I would like to open it up for questions.
Well, thank you so much, Jenna. That was a fantastic presentation. I know for sure I learned a lot. I have a question here. I'm a former member of the Army National Guard and was federalized for a period of time. Am I eligible for benefits?
So actually, the short answer is no. The longer answer is I actually served in the National Guard as well. Because we were, okay, so let me back this up. If you only served in the National Guard, you're not eligible for VA benefits. However, I was in a roundtable discussion with the governor actually on Wednesday of last week. And that was brought to the forefront. And the governor and the head of the VA for Michigan and the Attorney General were not aware that National Guardsmen do not receive VA benefits unless we are deployed. If you are federalized for a short period of time, you might be eligible, but it depends on how long you were federalized. So I would have to look into that a little bit more. But it is on the governor's radar, and the Attorney General gave us their contact information to be able to keep up with them on that, so we can try to get those benefits for National Guardsmen. Because yes, we are veterans, we do the same things, but yet we're not eligible for the benefits. Kind of doesn't make sense. So it is something that the American Legion and VFW are working to lobby on.
Question. Thank you for that. How do you connect with the service officer?
So connecting with a service officer, all you have to do is find an American Legion post or a VFW that's close to you. Call them and ask them, say, hey, I need to talk to a service officer. And typically you are able to get their phone number. If you need connection with a service officer, and feel more comfortable giving me a call, I can find out where you are and get you to the closest one. Another place to connect with them as well is by going to, it's over on Fuller, which is the Kent County Veterans Services. You can also go in there and they can help connect you with a service officer as well.
Sure.
I want to also explain service officer a little bit more too, now that we're talking about it. There are two different types of service officers. So there are accredited service officers and there are non-accredited service officers. Most of the VFW and American Legion service officers are not accredited. And what the difference means is that they are not employed by the state. They are just a volunteer for the organization. But they are they have a network to help you connect to the accredited service officer. The accredited service officer will help you process your paperwork for your VA claim. They will help you, for the predetermination with the National Cemetery and much more. They are employed by typically either the state or the VSO. So like the American Legion, we have, last time I checked, we had 17 service officers throughout the state. that are accredited that are on our payroll every year. And so what the non-accredited service officer will do is they will say, okay, if you need assistance here, this is the paperwork that you need, and then have you have that ready before we take you to the accredited service officer, so you're prepared and it doesn't take longer.
So it's almost like you should actually look for a non-accredited one, because they have all the information, they have the forms and the information, so that you can be totally prepared. And then whatever the benefits or services that you need will actually move along much quicker.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. This is my question.
Okay.
How did you become a commander?
Well, I was kind of thrown into it. Yeah, so I was actually praying one day and was like, okay, Lord, I came back, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I don't have any holes in my body, you know, like I love to serve. Where can you put me? And I drove by an American Legion post every day, and one day I just felt this urge to like stop, and so I did. And I just got involved in the programs and learned about what their mission really is. And so I kind of felt the only way to make a change was to become part of the leadership. And so that I really kind of just took that journey. And so since then, I've been trying to spread this message that, you know, an American Legion is not just your bar. I mean, if you really think about it, an American Legion and a VFW do not charter bars. The bar is actually the fundraiser for the American Legion, so the American Legion can support all of those programs that I talked to you about financially.
Mhm.
That's what their bars are supposed to be. And unfortunately, it has turned into how do we keep the bars open? Because, you know, the younger membership doesn't frequent the bars, you know, because we have families and it's not acceptable to have your child in the bar as it used to be. So we're having to learn how to change the game a little bit. So I've been really instrumental in trying to let people know that we don't charter bars. We do really good things, and we want more people to come help us do even more great things.
Right. So if I'm a veteran and I do want to get involved, but you know, I'm just a little tentative about it. But I'd like to, like, I don't know, maybe get involved in one volunteer opportunity. How would that, you know, kind of how would that work? If I actually come in, is all of a sudden you're gonna get bombarded with doing 10 million things, or how does that work?
So it really depends on your ability to say no, and it also depends on the American Legion post. So every American Legion post is different. You know,
Yeah.
they all have different things that they focus on and that they do. My recommendation for that is to visit them during their post meetings and go and learn about what they're doing and find out which one fits you better.
Mhm.
Then at that point in time, you can make the decision on if you want to get involved. They'll ask you to get involved because you're new, and that what they're trying to do is they're trying to integrate you into the organization. But
Yeah.
it comes across as, oh, you're new. Okay, we're burnt out. We're taking you to do it so you can take over. That's not the case. The case is that they're just trying to integrate you because it is a proven fact that when you can integrate a new member, the more likely they are to stay around. And
Sure.
that's really the ultimate goal. So again, it's all about trying to get that message out in that way instead of, hey, we're just volunteer hungry.
Yeah.
So it kind of on both of those.
It sounds like the people who actually become involved get more blessings just by all the good that they do, like the bags that you were saying, sending, you know, overseas. I mean, what a way to not only help those folks, but honor the service that they did as well.
Yeah, so when we packed the 1,111 gift bags last week for the troops overseas, we had 22 different organizations that came, including the VFW. And I mean, the people that reached out afterwards were just amazed that, you know, they could be a part of it.
Yeah,
The organizations that came on board, I mean, we had Sobe Meats, we had Meyer, we had a chiropractor out in Holland, even though the project was based in Grand Rapids. They just came and totally surpassed all our expectations. I mean, we sent 747 gift bags in 84 boxes to Japan to support those troops. And then we also packed another 130 that we took to the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans to bless them as well. So it just, you know, this all was just an idea and a challenge.
yeah,
We sent some gift bags last year, and the guy that we sent them to was like, well, next year you should send 1,111. And because that's our American Legion post number. And we were like, oh, okay, challenge accepted. And so it kind of turned into that, and it just really
wow,
blossomed into a really amazing thing.
wow. Is the Honor Guard part of the American Legion or the VFW?
So it is not part of them. It is a separate organization. However, most of the people who are on the Honor Guard are members of those organizations.
Okay. If someone wants to reach out to you directly, how can they do that?
Let me click on my screen. There's my contact
Oh,
information.
thank you.
Yeah.
So if anyone would like to contact Jena directly, there's her information. As I mentioned, this has been recorded and will be up on our website. I want to thank you, Jena, for sharing your expertise with us today and
Thank
answering
you.
all our questions. And thank you all who came.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Honored to do it.
Have a great day.
You too.